Hey everyone, my name is Amber King and I am a cloud solution architect at UST. I'm going to take you guys through a quick demo on Power BI's Copilot features. What I think is the most important thing that we take away from our experiences with AI is the ways that it can help us create an environment that is easier to navigate, something that is easier to build and manage. And I really want to push you guys to look at the ways that AI can help you become more creative than you already are. AI on its own really isn't all that useful, but AI in the hands of somebody who knows how to use it is incredibly powerful. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we are on our Microsoft Fabric homepage. I'm going to start with the data warehouse experience, and I'm going to look at this workspace here, which is already Fabric enabled. And I'm going to go into my demo sandbox folder. I've already started using these folders that are in here. I'm sure many of you have also, and the folder structure that I've decided on for my demo space is to have a separate folder for each of the entities. That has helped me navigate through this space significantly easier when I know what I'm looking for already. So I'm going to click in our warehouse. We're going to start in the gold warehouse. I do have a setup underneath this that has the raw and curated layers in a lake house that are then pulling into this gold warehouse. So we'll click on this and open it up. We can see our table definitions here, and we already have our star schema in place. So what we need to do is add some measures. That's where we're going to start at. So I'm going to switch over to our model view and look at our table. So here's our little star schema. And one of the things that I did during my testing, and it should have been more obvious as I completed it, but I loaded the table and then I needed to add a new column. And so I dropped the table to re-add the column because that's so much easier than having to do the new update insert statement. So when I did that, I, of course, lost all of my measures attached to this fact trip detail table. And what I thought at that time is that it's going to be more important for us to make sure that we create a measures table. And so that's what we're going to do first, is create a measures table and put all of our measures into that table. And so that we can organize our model and make sure that if we do ever have to drop and recreate these tables, that we will not be having to recreate all of the measures as well. So I'm going to do that through this SQL endpoint. I'm going to open up a query over here, and I am going to copy and paste my table definition from my other screen here. And all this is going to do is just create a table with a single row that has column named report measures. And what I love about this is that it is all SQL based, so it's super simple to create that table. Now, if we flip over to our model view, we will see our new table shows up over here in report measures. I'm going to add a couple measures to this directly here. So there's two kind of ways to manage the measures at this point. There's one that you can create inside this model, this main model, that you can create maybe sales metrics or any of your common KPIs that are really not supposed to be changed across the board can be put into these models so that they are the default metrics that don't get changed across the board. Everybody can leverage the same measures. In addition to that, you have measures that you create inside your own Power BI report, and those can be specific to each of the reports. They don't have to be specific to the entire company, but it gives us a new level to manage measures that we didn't have before. If you want to add a new measure specifically to that table, you can click on the ellipsis and do new measure. And I'm going to copy and paste in some measures that I kind of set off to the side. We're just going to do 2 for this so that we can get an idea of the difference between the measures we create in our Power BI reports and the ones that we create in the semantic layer here. All right, and so one of the new features that we have with Copilot is to give a definition to our measure. It will automatically create one for us if we like. So it'll suggest something that we want to see. So it counts all the total number of rows from this table representing the total number of trips. That's accurate. So I really do want to keep it. I'm going to keep that description here, and it's going to auto update that. And I'm going to give it a display folder. We're going to put this one in the, let's see, in a totals. I'm going to put an S on the end. And I think I want to rename it from trip count to total trip count, just to be a little bit more clear and consistent. And it's going to be in a whole number format. I'm good with all of that. So let's expand this here. I'm going to give this one a description as well. And that works. We're going to put that into the totals display folder as well. And the format for this one should be currency. Give 2 decimal places. We do not need to make any additional updates here because this table is already automatically syncing. So when we pull this up with the Power BI report, we're going to see that the measures are in there, and it will update with the folders. It'll take a second to recognize those folders in this space. All right, so let's move over to Power BI. All right, so now we have Power BI Desktop pulled up. We are going to start a new report. We have 2 ways to get data. We can use the Get Data More and Microsoft Fabric, warehouses, and click Connect. Or we can use the OneLake Data Hub here and click on Warehouses. So now that pops up our gold warehouse that we were just looking at. So we want to go ahead and connect to that. And you can see on the right side, we've got our tables that are loaded in along with our measures. And now we have the appropriate folders for them. And we're going to go and click on Model View. And what you'll notice if you click on any of these is that the properties are grayed out. So if you want to make any changes to the model in this view in Power BI Desktop, you're going to have to click on Make Changes to this model. And so what it's going to do is create a direct query connection to that model on your machine. We'll click OK. And so now I've got the option to remove some of these tables that I may not really care for. I also have some options in the settings here to change the way some behaviors act. So when I create a measure that has already been named, say been named in the main model, instead of refusing to do the measure, what it'll do is it'll attach a suffix or a something to that measure, say like copy, right? Like when you do that with a folder or file or something, it always says like 1, 2, 3 or copy or something like that. And so that's an awesome feature that is kind of hidden in the back end here. So I am not going to do that right now. I'm going to keep it on its default settings. And I'm going to submit and let this load the model. All right, so now you'll see this open up for us to be able to change some of the definitions here or the formats. Okay, well, let's go to one of my new favorite features, which is the DAX query view. Now this is just a query against your model. So this doesn't add tables or do any of that, but it can create content for you to put into the model. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this Copilot preview button up here, and it's going to pop up this Copilot. And one of the things that I want this to do is I want it to create a bunch of common measures that on the table fact trip detail. Now, I probably don't need to say on the table. It probably already knows it's a table, but I'm going to let this run and see what it comes up with. All right, so it came up with a lot of them, a lot of sums and averages here. And then a count of trips, which I think we're going to use the one that we already created in the other model. So we'll get rid of that one. So what we're going to do is go ahead and say keep it. And another amazing little feature that this has in here is that in another world, if you had to take this, you would need to take it out of this editor and you would take this part right here and you would go over and you would create a measure and then paste that in and then go back and forth. But this gives us the ability to update the model with this new measure automatically from this location. So I'm going to click on create and it's going to update the model. And it's going to add them to fact trip detail because that's the table that it's related to. So it's going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and go down this list and have it add all of the measures that it suggested, minus that last one I'm going to leave out. That was the count because we already have a count that's doing count rows, which will be more efficient than the count of the SK that it had. All right, so I'll fast forward for this. All right, and that is done. So we're going to see, oh, I was going to not add that one. So I'm going to delete it. Delete from model, yes. Okay, so now we're going to go back over to our model. And what we're going to do is look at all of these. So in this view, we still have this create Copilot description, which is awesome. So I'm going to go through our whole list and add the Copilot description. And we'll fast forward through that. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to take all of these measures by highlighting all of them. I'm going to move them to the report measures table. And I'm going to give them all, let's see, it looks like it took all of them out of my highlighting view here. So we're going to select them all again, and we're going to add them all to an average folder, display folder. So when I do this next time, I'm going to make sure that I create the folder first. So we're going to do this, and we're going to say the display folder is totals. We're going to do that, and then we're going to move it to the report measures. And let's see here. So now all of them are out of here, and we'll add all of those descriptions and maybe some formatting, and we'll fast forward through that. All right, so now we have all of our measures lined up. All of them have a description, the right formatting, and what we're going to do is head over to our main screen to actually build the report. One of the things that I would like to display or show you guys is how to use Copilot for creating these reports, creating some of the content. So we'll navigate over to Copilot and we'll click on suggest content for this report. All right, so it's giving us these few suggestions on what we should do. And so this first one is passenger count, trip distance, and fare amount. We're just going to give it a shot, and let's just say create it for us. Because really what I'm looking for is ideas. I know that Copilot's not going to build this, completely automatically and without any input from me. I know that it doesn't know enough about the data and the context to be able to really get too far without some guidance. All right, so it automatically created this page here with passenger count, trip distance, and fare amount. It gave me a few sums to look at and some different ways to look at vendor. All right, so let's go ahead and see what it gives us for vendor performance then. Right, so now we have some measures here for vendor performance, including the vendor name. It doesn't look too different from our last one. It seems to really understand a vendor very well. And so we will have to merge some of these concepts together and look at vendor performance. But it gives us some ideas. So let's look at payment type insights and geographical trip patterns. We'll add both of those. All right, that one's got a few different charts in it. So I like the payment trends. This is pretty good donut chart. And then we will have to probably take some of this out and maybe spread it out a little bit because it looks like some of this can't be seen. But in general, it's pretty good for an automatic report. All right, look at that. And it gave us some maps. I love it. Okay. So on this page, I probably want to filter out some blanks. It looks like that's kind of overpowering some of the other data. So the last thing that I want to show you guys is the visualization for the narrative, which is gotten a lot better with Copilot's implementation. So we'll go in here and we'll load up the narrative and create, let's do an executive summary. And we get to pick we get to pick as many key metrics as we want. But what I want to do is pick 2 key metrics. We're going to look at passenger count and fare amount. And we will use those as our 2 visual representations. And we're going to do create. Let's expand this a bit. I don't hate the format so far. What I do love that this does is it creates these little references here that when you click on this, when you hover over it, you're going to see the sum of passenger count. And when you click on it, it's going to take you directly to the visual that is giving that information to you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to page 1 and I'm going to quickly take charts from the other pages and put it on here and see what kind of front page dashboard we can get in just a few minutes of work. That was about 5 minutes of work. It's not something that I could go directly to production with, but I walk away with some good ideas and I didn't spend very long on it, so nothing lost. This is our stopping point for our demo. So if you have stuck with me this long, then thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful time at Build.